Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. And what's his name? Let me check again, because James Gunn has found his Jonathan Kent for his 2025 Superman movie. But I had the name in my head and I've forgotten it. So just wait until I adjust my head, right? I don't have an auto cue, I don't have an earpiece, right? Very amateur. It's Pruitt Taylor Vince, that's the name. The reason I don't remember the name is because before it was announced yesterday, I had never heard of him, but his face does look familiar. Now, I'm told he's a really, really good character actor. This would go in line with all the other castings we've had for this movie that have all been very, very solid. If I was casting a low-budget movie or TV show, these actors would all be on my radar because they're really good actors and they're going to be cheap. I think the only one that kind of is going to be a little bit pricey and not that pricey is Nicholas Hoult, because mostly he's done movies. A lot of these actors have done a lot of television. So it's interesting. Some of them are quite unknown as well, if we look at a couple of them. Even beyond that, I don't know, you know, I've been scratching at the surface of this before. I don't think that James Gunn's Superman has a huge budget. Now, it'd be interesting if there'll be honesty about this budget, and we won't really know what kind of budget it is until we see the movie, until we see some moving pictures, until we see some TV spots and some trailers. And that won't be till next year. So it is going to be interesting how much they've actually spent on this movie, because without me being disrespectful to the people that James has cast, they're all very, very good actors. They probably all deserve to be in the roles that they are. But if you look at this Pruitt Taylor Vince guy, he ain't Kevin Costner, he ain't Glenn Ford. Now, this is very interesting. Now, we know in a lot of the comics, Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack when Clark is only a teenager, just before he leaves to become Superman. Now, James Gunn's Superman is, in all intents and purposes, from what he's told us, is set around a year after Superman has his coming out party and reveals himself to the world as Superman. Now, some people tell me there's no flashbacks in this Superman film. Some people tell me that there is. So is this version of Jonathan Kent going to be in flashbacks, or indeed maybe Jonathan Kent in this Superman, in James Gunn's Superman, is actually still alive? So that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to explore, because if there are no flashbacks and this is set a year after he becomes Superman, what's he doing there? Now, I'm actually okay with Jonathan Kent being alive. Now, we've had this discussion before with John Schneider's Jonathan Kent in Smallville. I've gone on record and saying that they killed him off too early on the show. The episode Reckoning, where he dies, is outstanding, it's compelling, it's amazing, and it enables the show to become a much darker show. I'm not sure if that's the direction Smallville should have gone in, but it was a pretty amazing, interesting thing to do. Anyway, but I've had this discussion that, you know, in some versions of the comics, Jonathan doesn't even die. Jonathan didn't actually need to die on Smallville, and I think they killed him off too soon. It's a bit like killing Rita in Dexter. It seems like a really good idea at the time, and then you realise the balance of the show has gone. So Jonathan Kent may not actually die in James Gunn's Superman. And again, I'm okay with this. Is it me, but did you expect Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent's casting to be announced at the same time? And why has he staggered these announcements? He said he'd pretty much found his cast, but there could be still a few castings to be announced. Now, so is there a Martha Kent? I would assume there is a Martha Kent. Is there a Jor-El? Is there a Lara? That's an interesting question as well, considering this isn't an origin story. As I say, it's a year in of him being Superman. So unless we see their images in the Fortress of Solitude, we pretty much know there's definitely going to be A Fortress of Solitude. They may not be in the movie. I'm going to guess that Jor-El and Lara will be cast. And Martha Kent will be cast. Now, there was some interesting rumours on the internet months ago that James was looking for two people of colour to play Jonathan and Martha Kent. Now, unless Martha is going to be a woman of colour, and I don't really care at this stage, you know, it's not a big deal, right? Like with all casting, not just with diverse cast, with anyone. I want the best people for those roles to get the part. If that happens to be a black woman, a white woman, an Asian woman, right? Anyone, I don't care. If you're the best person, if you're the most talented person and you have got something about you that can make you a great Lex Luthor. Originally, Chloe Sullivan in Smallville was going to be a diverse casting. They were looking for an Asian actor. They wanted to be diverse. That's why Pete Ross was black in Smallville as well. So as long as you cast the right people, the reason that Chloe wasn't played by an Asian actor, because Alison Mack came along, because you have to have open casting calls. You can't just say, we just want Asian people to come in. That's a little reverse racism as well, isn't it? So Alison came in. She obviously fucking killed it. She's one of the best actors I've ever seen. And what an absolute tragedy. By the way, I'd love to interview Alison Mack on this platform. I can't afford to pay you, but I'd absolutely love to interview you. It's not for me to forgive you, Alison. You have to forgive yourself and the people that paid the consequences for your alleged actions is for them to forgive you. I love you. You gave me so much as an actress. You gave me so much as the character of Chloe. I absolutely would love to speak to you, but I can't afford to pay you. So if you ever see this, if anyone knows Alison, tell her that I love her. And there are so many people out there that still love you, Alison, and appreciate what you did on Smallville. That's gone now. You paid your debt to society. Let's move on. Anyway, so it's interesting. So, yeah, I don't care about diverse castings. As long as you are genuinely, I don't believe in quotas. I don't believe in, you know, this equity, these quotas, this DEI or whatever it is. I don't believe in it. I believe that you have, you know, you put the right person, right? That is, you know, when you cast someone, it's your vision of that character. It's the vision of the story that the story that you want to tell. So whoever comes in and you say, bloody hell, that's the person. Even if they don't look like that character in the pages, in the previous movies or TV shows, if they have some kind of, if they've got the soul, the spirit and the personality, but they don't happen to look like those people, I'm fine with it. It's when you're casting people to fill a quota, right? For example, right, I'm a director for a Warner Brothers movie. There's a brilliant, for example, white composer that I want to use, and they go, "Oi, mate, you can't use that white composer. You're going over our quotas. That has to be a person of colour." But the person I want is them, not because of the colour of their skin, not because I'm opposed to, you know, a person of colour being my composer, because I want that composer, and that's the problem with these quotas. So Jonathan Kent has been cast. It's as I say, I can't give you some history on this actor. A lot of people are telling me he's a very good actor. So it's good, solid casting. He's a good character actor. It'll be interesting what kind of role he plays in this movie. Very, very interesting. And we'll wait to see who he casts at Martha Kent. I think one of the things I like about the cast is that James has gone, right, who's going to work for me? Yes, he does have to meet some quotas. That's why, you know, Wendell Pierce, at the end of the day, who is a really good actor, but a black man playing Perry White, but that's been done before. That's not groundbreaking. But I think it's great casting. If they told him you had to cast a black man as Perry White, and he found a great actor that was born to play Perry White, that's the kind of inclusive casting that I like. There's some Latino, you know, there's some Latino actresses. You know, one's playing Miss Tessmacher, there's another one, I can't remember who she's playing as well. Again, if they're good actresses, if they're good actors, and they can do the job, and they can, they can exude the personality of the character that James wants done, then that's fine. Quotas are wrong when you're just saying anyone will do. Anyway, so yeah, but I think mostly James's castings, not mostly, all throughout the board, James has casted this movie really, really well, and he's gone, right, your work here, your work there, yeah, you're perfect for this character. And so I don't think there's a weak casting in this movie, and it will be very, very interesting how it all works out. But there's no stars. Now, there could be two reasons why there's no stars in this movie. Not really. I wouldn't call Nicholas Hoult a star. He's a famous actor who's a very good actor. I wouldn't call him a movie star, not in my opinion. But I think there's two reasons why James has gone down this direction. Either it's a low budget, or James likes to work with people, not divas. Talent, not divas. So I know that this is true because he said it before. He don't want anyone on his set that's going to disrupt his set. But at the end of the day, no director wants that. You don't need that. You don't want that. Now, in the old days, and when I was growing up, there was, the first thing they did was get a big star for a movie because that, that would sell their movie. But that's not what James is doing. James is going, right, I want a good cast, a good environment to work in. I don't want any divas. I don't want any big names. I want to cast this out properly. So it's either that, or that they have a budget. They have budget restraints, right? But as I said, that's not hurting the movie, but it could hurt the sale of the movie. For example, you would expect Deadpool and Wolverine to make a lot of money, not particularly because it's going to be a great movie, but that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is back. But then again, Michael Keaton's Batman came to the Flash movie, but people saw that they were using that as nostalgia bait, that it wasn't going to be a good movie, and people didn't go and watch that movie. Michael Keaton was very good in the movie, but there were some good performances in the movie. You can't say there wasn't, but it wasn't a good movie at the end of the day. You can't shine shit. It's as simple as that. I still credit Ezra Miller. With all their problems, I still credit the actor playing two versions of Barry Allen and The Flash so wonderfully well. Despite the issues I have with their behaviour, the performance was outstanding. But by the time we saw that movie, the movie was tainted for so many reasons. And Ezra Miller wasn't the only reason that film bombed. So would a nostalgia bait work this time? Deadpool is a popular character. You expect that movie to make $1 billion. But James Gunn isn't going for nostalgia bait. This is the very interesting thing. He's casting on people he believes can give these roles the best chance, can do the best job for his vision of these iconic DC characters. So they won't sell the movie. They won't. There's no one in this movie that can actually sell it to the public. There's no big movie stars. There's no Shirley Temple types. There's no Marlon Brando types. There's no Glenn Fords. There's no Russell Crowe. There's no Kevin Costners. It's a good, talented cast that clearly, no egos. This is how James likes to work. This is why James and most directors work with the same people. People say, why does he always cast his friends? Because they're his friends. He trusts them. Look at what happened with Guardians 3 when he was fired. If he weren't working with people that liked him, he wouldn't have been able to come back and make that third movie. He would have remained fired. But they downed tools and said, we're not working without James. So it's always an advantage to a director to work with people that like him and create this, this family environment. And that's what James does on his sets. And as long as he's casting talented people that happen to like him, that happen to create this family environment and are all pulling in the same direction, that isn't a problem to me. So to confirm, and let's get his name right again, Pruitt Taylor Vince, right? Yes, he's got three names. Pruitt Taylor Vince has been cast. Apparently, James hasn't confirmed this, by the way, but I don't think anyone, unless you're a maniac, makes up this actor playing Jonathan Kent in James Gunn's Superman film. So Pruitt Taylor Vince has been cast, apparently, to play Jonathan Kent in James Gunn's Superman movie. We'll see what happens with Martha, Jor-El, and Lara. Very, very interesting times. But Pruitt Taylor Vince is someone I recognise, but I haven't seen him in anything. I don't know what kind of actor he is, but I'm being told by so many people that he's a good character actor. I'm going to take your word for it. I'll try and check him out in some other things. You know, I'm sure he's the real deal. So just hearing the casting is exciting, and this movie is really, really taking shape. But I do feel there's a lot of competition around the same time for this movie. It's a good old-fashioned blockbuster battle next summer, because these studios went from trying to close down cinemas and trying to embrace streaming to realizing there's no money in streaming anymore. Something else, a little tidbit for you as well. You remember Grant Gustin, who played the best live action version of The Flash? Someone who can sing and dance on Broadway as well as act. Now, in the old days, in the 30s, if you couldn't sing, dance and act, you wouldn't get a contract at a studio. In the old days, you were called a contract player because you would be exclusively working for a studio. Better times as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, apparently Grant Gustin and James Gunn have been talking to each other. They've been direct messaging each other. So Grant admitted this in an interview and said, yes, me and James have been talking, not about The Flash. I'm a huge Superman fan. And he had, not me, of course I'm a huge Superman fan, but Grant Gustin, says he's a big Superman fan and he just wanted to see how it's going and he's wished James all the best of luck. And it's true, I can confirm that Grant Gustin has always been a huge Superman fan. So that's really, really cool. Will he be involved in this movie? Will he be the Flash? Could he be an older Barry Allen, not older, but like the age he is now? And maybe they introduce different versions of the Flash family as well. I think a lot of people would be very, very excited about this. But could it be a multiversal movie? I am not discounting multiple versions of these DC characters in this movie. I've already suspected that we're going to get more than one version of Superman in this movie. We've had the Bizarro rumours. We've had the Ultraman rumours. Something is definitely going on. I've suspected from the moment he said this film was called Superman Legacy, which of course it's not anymore, which I find very suspicious. It's like he's taking a clue away from us. Bit late now, James, but I think this could be a multiversal movie and there could be a multitude of versions of these DC characters. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, let's move on to Doctor Who. Because Russell T Davies, the BBC and Disney are ramping up the marketing for Doctor Who Season 1. Yes, they're calling it Season 1. We all know why this is another, Disney idea. Disney hate the history of Doctor Who. They even hate the history of the revival of New Who. They think it's all problematic. So they're trying to forget that Doctor Who has a past. It's the reason why they turned David Tennant into the 14th Doctor, rewrote his history, and made him into a beta male Doctor, and didn't make him a great Doctor because they wanted the new Doctor of Colour to be the main man, right? They don't want this iconic Doctor overshadowing the new Doctor. It absolutely makes sense. Anyway, Russell T Davies in an interview said something very interesting, something that may surprise the rest of the Doctor Who community out there, but not me. He said they're really embracing the timeless child in Season 1, where basically they already hinted at this. Ruby is a foundling, the Doctor is a foundling. What does that mean? They were both kind of adopted. However, you adopt, an alien that you find and bring him, to Gallifrey, but that's now the Doctor's history and timeline. And we know that Ruby has this mystery box storyline. She was adopted, she was found outside a church. So they have this connection. That's what Russell T Davies is saying. And they both kind of decide that they want to find out their origins and where they come from. So they both decide to do this within series 1. Now this is very, very interesting. How do I see this? I don't see a reality where Russell T Davies shows us the origins of the Doctor, a new planet, where he's from. I don't think that's what he's really doing. Russell T Davies is a very clever guy, whether you like him or not. He leads you down one way, but takes you down the other. He's very good at marketing Doctor Who. I believe they're going to use the Timeless Child to kind of, as a vehicle for Ruby Sunday's mystery box story and to unearth her origins. Do I really believe we're going to find out what the Timeless Child is all about? Now let's be clear, Chris Chibnall had no idea what he was doing here. He just wanted to do a hot take. He's admitted it. He never ever wanted to establish the Timeless Child storyline. It was a hot take. He wanted to change the origins of Doctor Who because he felt that, like Disney do, that Doctor Who's history is rather problematic. Now, I don't know. Do you agree with that? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, so Chris Chibnall never had a plan. We saw everything he knew on the Timeless Child. That was it. It was done. He drew a line under it. And remember that thing the Doctor chucks in, under the TARDIS console or whatever he did, where it has all the, or so I say, she did. So basically, and she told the TARDIS never to let her get it right. She doesn't want to know. At the time, the female Doctor didn't want to know about her origins. So now, what Russell T Davies is saying, he's going front and centre on the Timeless Child. But I just don't feel it's always been, all Doctor Who fans have always been like, we don't want to know the Doctor's origins, right? Yeah, originally the Doctor was from Gallifrey, Time Lord, but we don't want to go too deep into it because the mystery of the character, is the whole point. And, after all, the character is called Doctor Who. You don't want to spoon feed an audience everything about their backstory. But anyway, he said he's going front and centre with the Timeless Child. So I suppose we could find out something. So it's now Russell T Davies' story. He has to find a way to unearth little bits and pieces, I suppose. But, nothing that gives us definitive answers. I believe what Russell T Davies is doing here is getting his storytelling dustpan and brush and trying to tidy up this situation. Because the Timeless Child, whether you like the Timeless Child and the Timeless Children episode, or whether you like it or hate it, it's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a mess. It takes something, it changes something, but it has no answers. And half the fandom hate it, and quarter of people, I don't think anyone actually likes it. I think a quarter of people don't hate it, and the rest of the people think it's a disgusting thing to do. Right? So I'm like, well, it's an interesting storyline, but if you don't establish it, it's just a hot take. I think it's interesting to say, hang on, let's pull the chair from underneath you and say the Doctor's not from there. The Doctor is from where is the Doctor from? Now the Doctor's a bigger mystery than we ever thought. And I think that's what Chibnall was trying to do, create a bigger mystery. But his reasons for doing that were ideological and, apolitical as well. There's no question about that. I think we know that. I think we know what he was trying to do here. He was trying to make up for the fact that there wasn't many females and people of colour playing the Doctor in the past. So let's just, do this and have all these different versions. Well, it still doesn't fix anything because you're just having a few people, like as extras, saying, oh, the Doctor's black, the Doctor's Asian there. It's silly. It doesn't fix what's gone before if you're one of those people who feels it needed fixing. I didn't. We can't affect the past. We can only affect the future. But these people, these extremists, want to rewrite history. We've seen it with the Cleopatra doc on Netflix, and we've seen it many, many times. This is how these people work. You haven't rewritten Doctor Who history because many people are rejecting it. So, what does Russell T Davies do here? Russell T Davies is very good with a sleight of hand. He's got to take the Timeless Child storyline somewhere that seals it and you move away. Now, he's publicly said that he will not retcon the Timeless Child storyline by his good friend, because Chris Chibnall is a good friend of his. He can't publicly say he hates this storyline. I can assure you he would never have done this. Never. And the reason he did the bi-generation was to try and take the heat off of Chibnall. It didn't work. Most of us laughed at the bi-generation. We weren't angry at it. It's weird, but I don't know what to say about it. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. I just think it's stupid. I just think it's funny. You know, a white doctor birthing a black doctor. If you don't think that's racially problematic, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what the idea was. I don't think he knows what the idea was. I just think it's something that he did to try and annoy people and say, oh, RTD's just as bad as Chris Chibnall. No RTD. Basically, the RTD we're getting now is someone who's had to go cap in hand to Disney for money, right? And now he has to take notes from Disney. Talk about the mighty falling, how the mighty have fallen. We know that he didn't want to take Davros out the chair. That was Disney. We know the not-so-specials weren't so special because of Disney. We know this. So this is the balancing act that Russell T Davies is going to have to do. Can he fix the damage of the Davros situation? Can he fix the damage of the Timeless Child situation? Can he fix the damage of the not-so-specials? So he's the one trying to balance this thing out. He's doing a Beatles episode without any Beatles music. Maybe it'll be a great episode and a celebration of the Beatles. We'll have to wait and see. But it's a very difficult thing to do. If anyone could do it, he can. It's pretty dumb if you ask me, but this is where we are in entertainment today. So him saying that he's going front and centre with the Timeless Child will upset a lot of people. I personally think it's a sleight of hand. I think he's using the fact that the Doctor's now a foundling to use that as a vehicle to unearth Ruby Sunday's mystery box origin story. And I think it's nothing more than that. But I like the idea of the Doctor wanting to unearth the mysteries. Because, if you found out all of a sudden that your parents weren't your parents, you wouldn't just say, oh, forget it, I don't want to know. You'd want to know. It's intrigue. It's that thing scratching on your head. What if this? What if that? And it's worse for the Doctor. The Doctor's mind was wiped. The Doctor was used. Their DNA stolen. The Doctor needs to know where they're from. And it's very, very interesting how you can, because it does need fixing. So just because he said he's not going to red pill this, you can't trust RTD, by the way. He could find a clever sleight of hand where he red pills it without red pilling it, which satisfies everyone. Even Chris Chibnall. Even Chris Chibnall admitted he expected RTD to red pill it. So I don't think Chibnall is of the mind of saying, look, just do what you fucking want. I did my hot take. I don't care now. I annoyed the people I wanted to annoy. Fuck it. I don't care. But Doctor Who, the way the Timeless Child was left, Doctor Who doesn't have much of a future. It will get a huge ratings lift on the premiere with Space Babies. But I think as we go on, people will start to lose interest if the episodes are as dull and mid as the not-so-specials, which they were. I don't think there can be any debate about that. They wasn't great. It wasn't what we're used to from Russell T Davies. And this was supposed to be a 60th anniversary celebration. Then the introduction of Ruby. When you see the other revival companions, the great introductions we got for them, we felt like we knew them after one episode. I don't know Ruby Sunday. I know she's a foundling. I know she has a mystery box story. That's it. It's looking like Ruby Sunday is the empty vase. Remember the poem from Friends the guy does to Monica? It's a bit like that. It's a bit like the X-Files episode titled Nothing Important Happened Today. That's what the introduction to Ruby Sunday felt like. That's what the not-so-specials felt like. So I'm okay with him delving into the Timeless Child, especially if he can resolve the situation in a satisfying way that cleans up Doctor Who once and for all and brings back all the fans together.